Hello and welcome to the Alpha Movement Podcast. My name is Tom Foxley, and on today's show, I'm taking the reins again. I am going to be talking about a few questions, or answering a few questions that have proved popular or controversial in my private group, the Alpha Athletes Page 2.0. Like, at the moment, we're going through a big movement and mobility phase right now, but we have so many questions from the other guys that I thought I'd help you guys out as well, because I know lots of you be thinking about them at the same time. So we'll go from there. If you want to find out a bit more about the page, you can go to alphamovement.co/academy news, and there'll be a link there you can follow, rather than you searching out on Facebook and all that kind of good stuff. So the first thing I got a question about was weights vests. Okay. And this is like, you see, if you're watching the CrossFit Games right now, you will see them running around with weights vests on. If you've ever been to a military base, you'll see people running around with weights vests on. You might see people training with them on. They can be a very, very good piece of kit. And as some of you know, I have spent a fair amount of time running around with the weight on. I kind of know what it's like, and I definitely appreciate the benefits of it. But the big thing to remember is you got to have good movement first and foremost. And you shouldn't let it affect, like when you put this weights vest on, you shouldn't let it change your mechanics and your running mechanics. So make sure you're running well, or make sure you're moving well first, and then introduce it, and then make sure it's not compromising your mechanical integrity, because it's a really good way of adding variety to your training and your lifestyle. Lots of people have even used them to just kind of walk around with in day-to-day life. It's a really good way of just getting strong and carrying some weight around, because we very rarely carry weight around on our backs and shoulders. So it's quite a nice thing to do, but it shouldn't really be overly relied on. The second question I got was about training masks, and these first two things are fairly similar, but I'd say the difference between the altitude mask, the training mask, and the weights vest is the altitude mask is beneficial, but it's not because of the reasons that it says on the tin. Like, it doesn't simulate alcohol. It doesn't simulate altitude one bit. It's not going to change the pressure that you're breathing under. It's not going to change the how much oxygen's in the air, anything like that. But what it will do is it's going to improve your breathing mechanics. It's going to make sure you're breathing really well. It's going to make sure you're using your diaphragm. And it's, someone in the group actually said it was like, breathing, like using dumbbells on your arms, but for your lungs. And that's a really good way of putting it. It's just like that bit of extra resistance that's going to make you forcefully breathe. They're a very good bit of kit if used for variety. And the way I particularly like to use them is in the recovery sets. So, for example, 6 sets of 500 meter rows. Like, you just do the actual movement, do the actual exercise without it on, and then when it gets to recovery, then you'll stick the mask on, and that's a really good way. I think Brian McKenzie actually uses it to train that way. So, in summary, they can be a very good piece of kit, but with any kind of, I think the problem with both the weights vest and the mask is people are looking for quick fixes, and it's one step away from people wearing those training corsets, which are my biggest pet peeve / complete fucking hatred in the world at the moment. Those corsets that are meant to be waist training. But anyway, on with the show. Transdermal magnesium was the next thing that people kind of brought up. And this is a really, really interesting subject. So transdermal basically means that it comes from the skin. Magnesium is an essential mineral that we can get through nutrition, but lots of people, especially athletes, especially kind of powerful athletes that are manipulating their body weight quite a lot. So, whether it's gymnasts or wrestlers or even Olympic weightlifters, it's people doing fast, powerful movements, they generally have a deficiency of magnesium. And transdermal is it's going through the skin. Sorry, that's what transdermal means. Transdermal is a really good way of getting it into your body, because basically people's stomach don't take it very well if it's oral. So basically they get diarrhea, and having the shits ain't great fun when you're trying to train, especially if you're doing heavy squats. But the way it can be used, it's used in two basic ways. First one is it's used for performance, because your body runs on this thing called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Okay. And what people don't really appreciate is the fact that that has to have magnesium and a magnesium ion attached to it and available, ready to go, in order to work properly. So if you don't have a readiness of magnesium, you're not going to perform as well as you could. You're not going to get the contractions that you think you should. So by supplementing with magnesium, we're going to improve, on a very good level. Like, a general guideline is guys should be having about 260 milligrams per day and girls about 220 milligrams per day. That's like a very general. Obviously, the ideal way to do this is to get your blood tested, look at the mineral analysis from there, and kind of see how you go. The other way it's used is in recovery. And this is the really interesting way. Like, transdermal magnesium for DOMS, for muscle soreness, delayed onset of muscle soreness, is really, really good way to reduce the soreness of what's going on there. And you just feel great. So generally what I do is, if people aren't, if my clients are still feeling sore after about 3 weeks of being introduced to the new program, I'll buy them some transdermal magnesium, because it's a really good way of getting rid of that soreness, or at least diminishing the soreness, taking it down to a residual level rather than having it stopping your life. Because it seemed to actually happen to women mostly. So I know it's mostly guys that listen to this show, but women tended to suffer a bit more from the soreness, and it could cripple them for days afterwards. Like, sometimes literally, I used to have this one client, and she could only train once a week. And I know that's a mistake now, but she would come in and she'd still be sore from the last week, and she wouldn't have done anything in between. So yeah, we got her some transdermal magnesium, and she kind of sorted herself out, and eventually she trained 2-3 times a week. And that was cool. And it also helps with injuries. Like, once you start getting some transdermal magnesium on board, once you've had an injury, it really helps you to recover quickly. I'm not going to go into why, because this isn't a science podcast. This is just a chance to show you guys like a few kind of take home methods. The other thing, or the fourth question I got, was about meditation. Now, like, you can see these questions get really varied, and like the topics in the group are really cool. But yeah, meditation. So you'll probably have heard from the interviews that I think probably 95% of the people I have on the show who are very successful in their own world will meditate. They'll do it in some form, whether this is Brian McKenzie doing the Wim Hof method, and Chris Moore, who was doing the Wim Hof method, which is my absolute favorite method of meditation at the moment. I've combined it with some mindset stuff as well, and visualization, and like the combination of that is so powerful. Or whether it's like following Headspace. I had someone in the show, in the group, who said that using Headspace the last 10 days had changed his life. So that's pretty cool. There's other things like Calm. There's, like, you can use, what's it called? Transcendental meditation. There's so many different options there, and people see meditation as this kind of one size, or there's no delineation between the types of meditation, and it's like, they're very, very different experiences. And if you don't get one, that's cool. Like, try another one. Honestly, it's like sports. Like, just give it a chance. Try something else. It's so worth it. And it doesn't have to have this religious or spiritual connotations. It's just being at peace with yourself. And if you can learn to be at peace with your own mind and to be happy, then you're one step closer to success. The way I would recommend going about it is by giving yourself the bare minimum to do. So when we set habits, as in any way, we need to make it easy for us to win. I've had this conversation so many times with guys recently where they're really beating themselves up, and you think, oh, what? So why haven't you managed to do it? And it's because they've set themselves a target of doing like 20-minute meditation, and then doing 20 minutes of yoga, and then drinking 3 liters of water. And it's not a great place to be, and it makes things really difficult. But when you start to make things easy to win. So literally my morning routine at the moment is make sure I do 1 round of the Wim Hof method, and that makes me feel great. So yeah, that's pretty much the way to do it, is make it very easy with meditation. Is there anything else I want to say about meditation? Not really. I think just trying it for yourself, give it a chance, like really give it a chance. I know lots of people, as soon as I mention meditation, will go, not really, it's not really for me. But honestly, just try it. Try it for 21 days. Make it very easy for yourself to do. See how you feel at the end of it. See how your peers and your colleagues and your family, see what they say about you when you've been meditating. See if they've noticed a difference within you in the last 3 weeks. That's all I'd say about that. And then the last kind of question that I thought I'd bring up that I got asked is about Stoicism. Now, loads of you will have heard me mention Stoicism. It's something that's playing a huge part in my life recently. And that's because I've gone through some huge changes, and it's become very apparent that the reason that I've started to experience more success now than I had done necessarily is because I was embracing the principles of Stoicism. Now, Stoicism is like, I got this crappy quote written down because I think it's a good definition, but I don't think it really explains the nuances of it. And the quote is, the endurance of hardship without the display of feelings. And I suppose that is it, but it's so much more nuanced. It's so much more detailed, and it's so much more interesting than that. It's an approach to life. It's a way to control your thoughts. It's a way to get what you want done. It's an easy way to progress in life. And like, you look at some of the most successful people in the world, and they are, whether they're active or passive practitioners of Stoicism, that's what they do. So like the ways that I kind of think about it are, on purpose, introducing hardship to your life to practice for when things go shit. Because if you haven't had any appreciation, or you haven't had any experience of hardship or pain or suffering in any degree, it's going to be harder when it inevitably comes around, because one thing we know in life, there's going to be hard times. So that's a really good way of of practicing it daily. And then the other thing is, when those hard times do come up, just embrace it. Like, it sounds so horrible, but those, like that classic saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And yeah, that's what my granddad used to say until the accident. But crap jokes aside, like that saying is very true. And like, if you go through this hardship, just remember that it's making you stronger in some way, whether that's financial, whether it's physical, emotional, like in your relationships, whatever. And obviously this applies to training really, really well. If you're training hard, and like, if some of you will have seen me put up a post of me on the Airdyne, we had 100 calories to do for time, and it was the most disgusting feeling ever, because you work so hard. Or the assault bike, sorry. It's like if you haven't seen it, it's like a stationary bike, but you got handles as well, and it drives a big fan. So the harder you push, the more resistance you get. It's a hideous piece of kit. It's called the Devil's Tricycle in a load of different environments. But yeah, pushing through that. If I had this idea of comfort, and if I had the idea that comfort was going to be a way from, like, it was something to seek, then I would have stopped. But the thing is, comfort is is the wrong thing to try and look for in life. We need to approach and aggressively seek out discomfort, because that's what makes us stronger. When we try and get comfortable, I think people mistake comfort for success. And being successful is not being comfortable. You look at the most successful people, and they're still going through discomfort, in various ways. It may not be the same discomfort. It may be, sure, they don't have to worry about money maybe, but they may have to worry about the careers of hundreds of people, or thousands or tens of thousands of people. So actively seeking out hardship is I suppose what defines Stoicism. A few places to start. If you're actually the number one place to start would be following Ryan Holiday. He is the easiest to interpret, the easiest to follow, and trying to get him on the show. So we'll see what happens with that. But he's an awesome person, and he makes Stoicism very, very easy to understand. His book, Ego is the Enemy, is his newest book. It's very, very good. But The Obstacle is the Way is what was a very successful book, and it made huge waves. Like, it made huge waves in the sports arena, because it just is so applicable. And in my podcast a little while ago, I can't remember which episode number it was, but I did it all about books, and I mentioned that, and I gave a bit of a detail about it and gave my kind of opinion on it. And my opinion on The Obstacle's Way is basically that it's a fantastic book. And those are the 5 questions I wanted to bring up today. I get so many, and those were the kind of 5 interesting ones, I think. We've gone from very specific stuff to very conceptual stuff, and that's the way I kind of like to run the group. So as I said, if you wanted to access the group, chances are that I will let you in, unless I look at you and you look like you're a serial killer. I probably won't let you in, or you're going to post crap on my page. But yeah, if you head to alphamovement.co/academy news, you can not only keep up to date with the news of the Alpha Movement Academy, but you can also get access to this group as well. And the group is completely free. There's no payment required, and it always will be free. We're, I think, 120 guys now, all looking to push themselves to get better in various areas of life, whether that's training, spiritual, emotional, physical, like anything like that, or even careers and finance. Like, we've got guys from all different ages, just trying to get better at life, I suppose is the best way to put it. So yeah, the academy is also coming out, which is very exciting, but I'm going to keep that stum for a while longer. And please head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars and subscribe. The 5-star reviews, please keep coming, because they really wank my ego nicely. I feel great after reading those. And yeah, subscribe. And then you can find us on social media. You can find the Alpha Movement on Twitter @AlphaMVMT. You can find the Alpha Movement on Facebook at facebook.com/AlphaMovementOfficial. Or you can find me, Tom Foxley, pretty much anywhere on social media. I don't really use Twitter for my personal stuff, but Facebook and Instagram are probably the best places to find me. So you just search for Tom Foxley and you shall find me pretty much anywhere, guys. So take care, and I'll see you soon for another episode of the Alpha Movement Podcast.